Hi everybody, good evening, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. And I feel I need to start it with the typical, what's going on? I mean, what is going on with Manchester United at the moment? Of course, most of it is paper stories and that's all we've got. But there's a few home truths, I think. There's a few things that we already knew that we hoped wouldn't happen, i.e. United go on a US tour and that's it for transfers for 10 days. But what we're hearing today is that Casemiro stays at Manchester United, that Manchester United are in talks with Rabiot, potentially Zubimendi, Agate's still there, Amrabat's training in his Man United shorts. I mean, how many midfielders are we signing? Are we just not signing any? Are we accepting defeat? Also want to talk about De Ligt. De Ligt, is it time to move away? Some people think that De Ligt is turning into De Jong, whereby Manchester United should maybe be moving on from De Ligt. We'll talk about that because there's certainly frustration. And I've got to say, you know what? I suspected, I thought, I predicted that today would be deal day. And today ain't going to be deal day. Wan-Bissaka ain't going to be here we go. Agate ain't going to be here we go. And Mazraoui's certainly not going to be here we go. So again, we are stuck where we are with Manchester United and lots to get into on the show. If you didn't get an intro, Martin, it's something to do with YouTube. If you watch it back and you're not watching live, you'll get your intro. I don't know how you find a way around it because if I wait 15 seconds to give the live people an intro, the people who watch it later will just have me sat there for 15 seconds. So answers on a postcard. I've got no idea why YouTube has started doing that. Sanj says you seem grumpy. Well, piss off, mate. Go and do one. I'm not. I'm absolutely fine. I'm in a good mood. So look, to all the people who were moaning this morning about no news. Oh, well, there's no news. Don't watch the show. Like, you know, do you think the 10 o'clock news on the BBC just goes, oh, there's not much going on tonight. We're not going to do it. We've done it for 10 years. We do a 10 o'clock show. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. Simple as that. Go and, you know, it's lovely weather outside. Go and check it out. Lots to get into, as I said. Yeah, look, Casemiro staying at Man United. Rabiot talks. What's going on with Agate? What's going on with Amrabat? Why is it every time Man United go on a tour, they seem to down tools on transfers? Is it because everyone else is on tour? It's repetitive. It certainly is. It's the same old story. And I think that we're all pretty much in that in the same thing. So look, anyway, before we get into all that, sorry to Manscaped. Not because of anything I've done wrong or they've done wrong. I should have said it quicker. We're sponsored by Manscaped on the show. One of my favourite, my very favourite brand that deals in male grooming. The lawnmower is the key to this. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. It works around the groin area and it tidies everything up for men. Check it out, Lawnmower 2.0. You can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code TUS. You'll never have a better quality product in your hand. I can't say that about women because I've seen some really good quality products in their hands that make similar noises. But we're talking about men. This is Manscaped. The Lawnmower 2.0 for down there. The Weed Whacker for up the nose. The Handyman for being out and about. This is even more familiar, Carol. And we've also got the Beard Trimmer, which is absolutely fantastic. It's got 11 different lengths on it. A deeper buzz. A deeper buzz to that. But they're all fantastic products. You know, you won't look back with Manscaped. You'll just be looking down proud going, wow. So check it out. 20% off. And free worldwide shipping. They do ship worldwide. The code is TUS. And Manscaped are absolutely fantastic. Check them out. Scan the QR code or go through the link in the description. Big shout out to Manscaped. Right, let's get into the show. Big shout out to Manscaped. Look, it doesn't make sense. I think it says that on the thumbnail. It doesn't make sense. I think that Manscaped need to do something with Carol. She's brilliant, but I really do. I do think that I'm a little bit confused about Man United and what's going on in the midfield at the moment, and maybe we can work through it together because we're all going to have different opinions. Now, Gur says I absolutely can't stand these pre-season tours. I want to talk about that in a few minutes, mate, because I feel like it's deja vu. I feel like Beyonce's going to walk in saying, put a ring on it. I'll say, I'm already married, thanks, but I don't mind your deja vu song. That's why I said your name. Because it's the same every US tour. It's the same. I said it before this one. I said, I'm dreading the tour because it will kill transfers. And it always seems to do it. And when we're back from the tour at the start of next week, we've only got a few days before Man City and then, about 10 days before Fulham. So we are going to start against Fulham with Maguire and Casemiro. Let's fucking face it. And you know what? Nothing against them. I think they're both professional footballers. Well, they are. But I think, I've got nothing against Maguire and Casemiro. It's the same with Wan-Bissaka. I've got nothing against Wan-Bissaka. But we've seen it all before, and we know what the problem is. And the talk and walking the walk. Because I don't buy into this, let's give Casemiro another chance. I've seen people having a pop at me in the comments. I've seen it online. Let's all listen to Goldbridge, who knows more than a multi-Champions League winning Brazilian international who's one of the best holding midfielders of the last decade. Of course he is. Of course he is. Of course he's one of those. I completely agree. But you know what? I think with Casemiro, it doesn't really matter what he was. It's what he is. And what we're hearing today is that Man United are more likely now than they were a month ago to start with Casemiro against Fulham and stick with him next season. And where I'm confused, and I would say what's going on is, and this is what I want to spend a few minutes talking about, because there's an update on De Ligt from Pletigol. We know what's going on with the fullback, with Wan-Bissaka and Mazraoui. We're hearing that we might not buy a left back now, and we might use what we've got. We'll talk about that. We're hearing that the midfield isn't going to change massively. We're hearing that Maguire's staying. Is this transfer window in danger of being the biggest scam ever? Whereby it started off with all these bids and all these personal terms agreed, and at the end of the day, we've replaced Martial with Xerxes and Yoro has replaced Varane. Is that where we are at the moment? So I don't know. I don't know where we are. Sorry, I think a few people are having problems with their internet tonight. Let me just double check this because I am live. I've had no dropped frames at all on my streaming service, so it might be problems with YouTube because there's absolutely nothing wrong at my end. So apologies for that if you're getting a problem tonight, but there is no drop frames. I'm on absolutely brilliant internet. It's all green, so I don't know what's going on. Let me just check the stream health. Stream is healthy, so yeah. Most of the time it's down to me, but tonight it's not. So I don't know what's going on. So apologies for that. You might have to leave and come back or watch it later. Just refresh. That's come in and come out. That's always a good way. That's what she said. So look, when we look at the midfield situation at the moment, we've got this story that Casemiro's going to stay. He'll start against Fulham and he's part of the plans next season. We've got Amrabat on his bike in his Man United shorts waiting to see what's going to happen. We've got Rabiot talks apparently taking place on a move to come to United. We've got Agate waiting with Manchester United to do a PSG deal. We've got Zubimendi, who apparently Man United are willing to break the release clause for. That's 5 midfielders. And honestly, we might only end up with one of them. So what is actually going on? Do we want Agate and Casemiro and Amrabat? Rabiot and Zubimendi just a smokescreen? Even if those two disappear, you've still got 3 that don't make sense. So I don't know what the plan is with Manchester United's midfield. But what I do know is that it was a train wreck last season. It was all over the place. And it wasn't just because of the low line and the high line and the massive space in the midfield. It was because people were out of position, their passing was bad, they were too slow. It was a bloody mess. And I think that when we look at Manchester United, if we think we can go into next season with the likes of McTominay and Casemiro and Maguire and Sancho and everybody else, and we think we're going to imprint ourselves into the top 4, we won't. We simply won't. So are we putting up a flag of defeat here and saying we can't do it all in one summer? This is going to be a longer project than we thought. In which case, let's have a bit of honesty. Because if that's the case, we can all grunt and moan and get frustrated. But the frustration can only be aimed at Glazers. It's not really Ineos's fault. I think where we were at the end of June, I knew what we were trying to do. Casemiro was for sale. We wanted Agate. De Ligt and Branthwaite we were bidding on, and we wanted Yoro as well. Where we are at the end of July, I think is a very different place. Agate's not here. De Ligt's not here. Branthwaite's not here. And yet Eriksen and Maguire are talking about next season. We're hearing about Casemiro for next season. Are we now looking at defeat? Well, we're not yet, but are we looking into the eyes of defeat here? Because I think it was very obvious what you can't spin what we know. We bid for Agate and we have got personal terms done. We've bid for De Ligt and we've got personal terms done. We've bid for Branthwaite and we've got personal terms done. So if we don't get those 3 players and we end up with Casemiro, Amrabat, Maguire, then we've failed. The public know we failed. We didn't get what we wanted, and we're making do with what we've got. Why we're doing that? Well, we all know. It's stupid bloody wages, and we can't get rid of these players, and we can't afford to bring the ones we want in. But it would be defeat. So I don't think that's going to happen. My honest feeling is I do not think that will happen. I believe we will get De Ligt. I believe we will get Ugarte, and I still think Casemiro will leave. But I have to accept that I'm not on the board. I don't know how things are changing. But I will say, how can anybody tell me I'm wrong if I say, if Casemiro's here next season and Ugarte's not, and Maguire's here next season and De Ligt's not, that's defeat for Ineos. They failed. They may have a very good reason for failing, of course, but it is defeat because it's not what they wanted. And we will go into a season knowing another manager has been let down and Ineos have been let down by the Glazers. So I don't want that. I do not want that. I don't want the excuses anymore. The amount of people saying to me, you kept Ten Hag, you and your lot, you wanted Ten Hag to stay. No excuses now. The minute anything goes wrong, we're all going to jump on him and you and say, told you so, you don't know anything about football. And they're right. They will do that. But if he's dealing with Maguire and Casemiro again, I will sit there and say, sorry, I'm not having it. The excuse is still there. The board have not backed the manager again. So I think that I think that's where we're at with this at the moment, is that potentially we could be staring down a defeat for Ineos as they fail to do what they want to do, which I don't think they will. I think, you know, I understand the frustration, I understand the concern, but I've said it all summer. I still think they'll get done what needs to be done. Whether they get it done before Fulham, that's another thing, and we're jeopardising points at the start of the season. But look, get in the comments and let me know what you think, what you're thinking, because where we are tonight, we're hearing Casemiro's going to stay. We're hearing Amrabat's still an option. We've still got personal terms done with Ugarte, and then there's Rabiot and Zubamendi there. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense to me, because when you look at the midfield roster for Man United, you've got Casemiro, McTominay, Eriksen, Mainu, Mount, Bruno, Collier. Right? You've got 7 players there. You can't bring in Ugarte and Amrabat and having 9. So from that 7, 2's got to go. Well, McTominay looks like he's the closest one to going at the moment, but I'm convinced he won't go. Casemiro looks like he's staying. Eriksen says he's staying, and there's no way Mainu, Mount or Bruno or Collier are going. So at the moment, I don't think we're signing anybody if we're keeping them 7. So where Amrabat and Ugarte fit into this doesn't make sense to me. So I can't really predict who's going to go. I mean, logically, if McTominay goes, Ugarte probably comes in and we don't bother with Amrabat. But I think how it's going to work, I don't know. Answers on a postcard. I would rather get hit by a train than to see our 4-time Champions League winner leave before McTominay and Maguire. We are allergic to winners, says Leon Dios. Thank you very much. It is Ineos' fault, says C. Nobody made them buy percentage of the club, and leaving Glazers in charge should have left it for the Saudis. Well, it was actually Qatar, but there you go. Does this mean we will try and sell McTominay now, says Anthony? Well, we've got to sell somebody. Keep smiling. Welcome to the Members Club. You're a legend. Another great show, says Kipper. Thank you very much. If anything, a sour reminders the Glazers still own us, says Mario Franco. Mate, I don't know why it needs some potential bad news for people to realise who still owns this football club. Like, the Glazers still own this football club. We're still nearly £1 billion in debt. We've still got one of the biggest wages in the Premier League, wage bills. You know, we are still potentially on thin ice. Like, you know, that always needs to be a backdrop. These players wanting to stay to fight for their place is a big problem. John, is anyone here prepared to say just what they mean, or is it too late? Because I believe this needs to be said. Any Man United player that is staying because they want to fight for their place, can I reinterpret that into the truth? I'm not going anywhere when I'm on huge money that no one else will give me anywhere else. That's what staying and fighting for your place is. Nobody wants me and nobody will pay me that money anywhere else. Man United gave me a contract. I'm not going anywhere. It's not I will fight for my place. That's a load of bollocks. That is a load of bollocks. If one of these players, say a third choice centre-back, was offered the same money at a mid-table Premier League club and they said, you'll start every week and be our captain, you wouldn't see their bloody car for the for the skid marks it left as it left Carrington Car Park. It would be bye-bye. This stay and fight for my place bollocks. Why have you not fought for your place for the last 6 years then when you've been shit? Honestly, it's bullshit. But some people will fall for it. They will fall for it. West Ham side are saying that Wan-Bissaka is asking for too much in wages. Who authorised these high contracts, says AG. But you know what? I mean, there's so much to talk about, but I'm happy to bring in stuff. You know what makes me laugh about this? Dino's waiting for Margot Robbie in the chat. Okay, sure they'll be in at some point. You know what makes me laugh is that if we're now hearing that West Ham can't believe the wages that Wan-Bissaka wants, can I just say, why are you surprised? He's been on 100 grand at Man United for 4 years. What do you think he's going to want when he comes to you? He's not going to take a bloody pay cut, is he? He's on 100 grand a week. He's not. What do you think he's going to do? What do you think he's going to do, West Ham? Come on. Shay says Casemiro needs to leave while he still has worth. And I work in a small shop in Norway. Today, Ronnie Johnson came in. I almost lost my shit. Showed him my United tattoo. He gave me a fist pump. And we talked about our thoughts of the season. Love, says Noob. There you go. That sounds great. Robert says, I think there's a player in De Ligt, but Agate is a pure gamble. Hope you're doing well, Robert. And Keel says, we've no choice but to let the contracts run out. And Emily Derry says, Woodward and Co. should be brought up into court because some of these contracts are criminal. Oh, you know what makes me laugh about Woodward? And Lineker blocked me for this because they're mates. I think they live on the same street. He should be done, Woodward. You know, he walked away with a fucking massive payout because he had some shares in the club. He had a massive wage. He was allowed to resign. Him, Arnold, are two of the biggest culprits over the last 10 years. Absolute shambles. How they didn't get sacked, I'll never know. They actually were allowed to go of their own accord. Rubbish. Absolute shit. Terrible what they did to this football club. No talk of Rashford out anymore. I would really like to see both him and Sancho moved on. He's had more bad games than good over the years, and his wages is also an issue, says Brian. I mean, Brian, that's a fine opinion. I'm sure there's people in the chat that agree with you. I saw some of the comments this morning, and a lot of people were saying, why are people not talking about Rashford anymore? Because it's an acceptance of the reality that we've known for months. Rashford's not going anywhere. Nobody wants him. You know, I read the interview with Rashford today talking about how he dreams of winning titles and Champions League with Manchester United. Well, what's his, you know, that sounds great. But, you know, staying and fighting for your place, FC, isn't it? Like, no one wants him. And no one wants to pay that wage. And, you know, I don't think Man United want to sell Rashford anyway. And I think he will have a good season. But anyone who says sell Rashford, sell Shaw, sell Bruno, you've got to find a buyer first. There aren't no buyers. People look at Man United and they go, forget about it. I'm not paying those wages. Forget about it. But look, Agate comes once Neves done. It's obvious they're waiting for the deal to go through, says Aidan. But is it obvious, mate? Is it obvious in the sense that you say it's obvious that's going to happen, but we need a midfielder to go? We mentioned that this morning. I just want to say this, though. What would your ideal midfield roster be? Because I want to talk about De Ligt. There is an update on De Ligt, and there's a few other bits I want to talk about as well. But I did think about this because a lot of people have said, you know, Mark, in relation to Casemiro, he could prove you wrong. You know, some people say you're a bit harsh on Casemiro, which is fine. And it got me thinking, you know, if we're only going to buy one midfielder, and that's Agate, and we're only going to sell one midfielder, you know what? Honestly, if you're saying to me, basically, which midfield roster do you want? Agate, McTominay, Eriksen, Mainu, Mount, Bruno, Collier, or Agate, Casemiro, Eriksen, Mainu, Mount, Collier. So effectively, McTominay goes or Casemiro goes and Agate comes in anyway. Bye-bye McTominay. 100%. 100%. I don't mind keeping Casemiro, but I don't think he should be starting for Man United. And I don't really understand why you'd give someone 350k a week to sit on your bench. But if it is between Casemiro and McTominay, then yeah, 100%. 100% I would sell McTominay because it's pure profit as well. Casemiro, if we sell him, isn't going to help us on FFP because we spent 60 million on him 2 years ago. So even if you get 30 million, amortization means that won't help us at all. Whereas McTominay will just be pure profit. The 25 million goes straight in. So McTominay is also not as good as Casemiro. So on every level, I would keep Casemiro over McTominay. But what I was hoping was going to happen is we get rid of both and we bring Amrabat and Ugarte in, or Rabiot and Ugarte in, and get rid of Casemiro and McTominay. That's my ideal scenario. In fact, let's do a poll on that. I think there's a poll we can do here, actually. It'd be quite interesting just to bring it in a little bit later. So either or, sell McTominay, sell... I love a good poll. I love a good poll. Sell both. There we go. That's it. Very concerned about Rabiot, says Taha. He's a decent player, but too many problems with managers. Every time he gets benched, there are rumours of him leaving. Happened at PSG and Juve. He won't accept being a sub, says Taha. Rory says, all the great scouts we have, but no other options, says Rory. And Mehdi says, these are early signs of a disaster that's about to hit us around Christmas time. Won't be surprised if news of sacking the manager come out that time as well. West Ham bidded for Mazraoui and he's on 150k a week. It's a scam, says Mario Franco. And are we learning our lessons this window? Xerxes Yoro wages are still quite high. Well, apparently Xerxes 100k and Yoro's about 130k, so it's not too high really, to be fair on that one. Just on the Rabiot story, I know Beth spoke about it, what a view it was in LA, up on the top of the hotel, the background looks amazing, but I don't believe we're in for Rabiot. I'm not saying the stories aren't true. I don't believe we're in for Rabiot. I don't think we're in for Zubimendi either. My personal thing is we're in for Ugarte and Amrabat, and we will get one or two. But I don't believe we're in for Rabiot. I think Rabiot is just paper talk. I think Rabiot is just, he needs a club, and Man United need a midfielder. 2 + 2 is 5. I don't believe that we're in for him. And Zubimendi, again, it just doesn't feel like we actually are doing anything there. So I do still believe it's Ugarte and it's Amrabat. But look, on Casemiro, let me just say this in a real way. So assuming he's going to stay, or if he goes, whatever, this is my honest feeling on Casemiro. One of the best holding midfielders of my lifetime, not just the last decade. Absolutely brilliant player. Was so happy when he came to Manchester United, as I was with Varane. But his first season was incredible. His last 3 months at the end of last season were just horrible. You know, to the point where I didn't recognise him. He's never been that. He's always been in love with football, obsessed with football, and his last 3 months of last season were toxic. And I don't know why. I don't know what it was. Couldn't be asked to get out. Silly little passes, crap penalties, weird headers back to the keeper, putting us under pressure. He just looked... I don't know whether he fell out with Ten Hag. There was rumours of stuff like that. I don't know what went wrong, but he switched off at the end of last season. Now, if he wants to switch on, plenty of players have come back from worse. Plenty. You know, it has happened. Players have been written off and come back. It's not proving people wrong. He was shit at the end of last season, but he might turn it around. So if that's going to happen, I'll be right at the front of the queue to say we've got Casemiro back. What a great player he is. But taking all that away, I'll still say 3 things. It's a risk. It's a massive risk. Why would you take a risk on a 32-year-old who is on 350k a week and is a yellow card every time he tackles? Why would you take that risk? Injury risk at his age, suspension risk every bloody game, and incredibly expensive wages. That, to me, doesn't sound like a calculated risk. That, to me, sounds like footballing mistake. And that's why I will not change my mind on this, and I'm not willing to go, let's just give it a chance. If it works out, I'll be the first to say, I got it wrong. Absolutely happy to do that. But sometimes you've just got to go, no, I don't agree with this. It's too much of a risk. I don't want... Like Robert's saying, you know, Ugarte to Robert is a really big risk. I'm quite excited about it, but maybe Robert in a year's time will be right. But on Casemiro, age, wage, and suspension risk and injury risk, I just don't know why you'd do it. Unless you have to do it. And let's be fair, it's all right me saying, well, I'd move him on. You know, so Jim Radcliffe might be sat here saying now, well, it's great what you're saying, Mark, but you know, how do you move him on? You know, it's a difficult one, really. We want Manchester United to get back to being the greatest team, but how do you get rid of Casemiro? He's on a 2-year deal. He's on 350k a week and nobody wants him. We've tried Saudi Arabia. They've said, no thanks, Sir Jim. We're interested in your petrochemicals, but we're not interested in Casemiro. What do we do? What do we do? So, it's true. I don't know what we do if nobody wants him. And in that case, you've got to use him. But ideally, I think we move him on. There is an old saying, leave football before football leaves you, says Darren. I don't know what that saying means. Oh, yes, in relation to... Yeah, I know. And Jay Harris says, I'd sell both McTominay and Casemiro, but if I had a choice, it would be Casemiro. At least McTominay can come off the bench and offer something, says Jay Harris. Looking like one out, one in. How will we get a left back, says Ross. And Casemiro has been world-class for most of his career. McTominay isn't even a good midfielder. I don't get why he gets so much disrespect every show, says Lewis. Well, hopefully, Lewis... We've just had a very open and honest conversation. And if you want to come back and tell me I'm wrong on everything I've just said, I'll still think I'm right. But he's not getting disrespected, is he? He's on 350k a week, which is one of the best paid players in world football. He's a yellow card every tackle. He's an injury risk now. He picked up injuries last season. And also, there was another reason as well. He's 32. So I think it's not disrespect, Lewis. I just don't think I think for those 4 reasons, it's a risk you wouldn't want to make. Rabiot free, Amrabat cheap. This is us, says Keel. And look how fast Chelsea get players out. Fabrizio's tweets. I mean, how Chelsea sell players who've never played for their club for 20 million just baffles me. How Arsenal got 35 million for Smith Rowe just baffles me. I mean, Man United need to change that. We really, really do. And just on Chelsea, big shout out to Swedish Rumble. He made a great point. What was the name of that centre-back that's gone to Chelsea who was in Argentina that we got linked to? Was it Anselman? He was basically saying on Twitter earlier that he's a bit disappointed that Man United haven't made any signings like that this summer. South American market, young player who can come in at 18 and be part of the team and just grow with the team. Why Man United not making signs like that? Well, Yoro's 18, but he's 52 million quid. Like, when are we going to start making these signings of players from South America that we've been talking about for a very long time? That's a fair point, but, in relation to our poll, either or, sell McTominay, sell Casemiro, sell both. Surprisingly, sell both has got 66%. So, in this chat at least, there is a strong feeling that both players need to go. I would certainly replace them with Agate and Rabiot or Agate and Amrabat quite happily. Ib says, what's your relationship with Seg? Well, mate, I respect the fact that you ask a direct question instead of posting shit on Twitter. Absolutely none. If some auditor wants to come and check our accounts or our emails or anything else and find anything to do with Seg or Ten Hag, then you'll be pulling a rabbit out the proverbial hat, because there is no relationship. It's just what happens on Twitter when people start spreading lies. Had it for years. Forest fan, he never goes to games, on the payroll of Seg, all this bullshit. It's just not true. I have mixed feelings about the stuff coming out about Rude. Even though it's a positive, it's PR as well. Ten Hag is not listening to Rude leaks after defeats, says Glenn C. Mate, you're a genius, Glenn. You're an absolute genius. I thought exactly the same thing today. All the normal journalists that went in on Ten Hag, Athletic, Telegraph, Manchester Evening News, right up the arse of Ruud van Nistelrooy, see it for what it is. This has got nothing to do with what Ruud's doing in training, which is well. This has got everything to do with setting Ten Hag up if things start to go wrong, and they'll go, Ruud's the one the players want. We're hearing from the dressing room that Ten Hag's losing control, but it's Ruud they want. I'll guarantee, I'll bet you any money that if results start to go bad, that's going to come out from Telegraph, Athletic and Manchester Evening News, because they were the ones who were going after Ten Hag at the end of last season. It's just another way to try and get what they want. And they're not positive enough about Ten Hag, are they? Right, let's talk about De Ligt. Didn't Casemiro refuse to play in the FA Cup final, says Joe. Oh, Joe. Well, I tell you what, Joe. Even I'd forgotten about that story. Joe. That is why we love this community. You know, I can set a show up and I can freestyle. I can freestyle. But sometimes you'll get a comment like that just sends the show in a completely different direction. I mean, that's not even in my 4 reasons to get rid of Casemiro. But that one, I'll tell you what, talk about Rashford. If that story had been floating around Rashford, he wouldn't be allowed to move past it. I don't know whether Casemiro refused to play. What I know is that Amrabat got picked over Casemiro, and Casemiro was meant to be on the bench. And Casemiro was named on the bench, and then Casemiro was not on the bench. That's all we know. Amrabat's brother put it out there that Casemiro refused to play when he found out he was on the bench. The truth will never come out. It's speculation, as Marvin AM said. But look, I won't predict what the truth is because that's irresponsible. I mean, sometimes I will be irresponsible, but on something like that, it's too serious a topic on a player that might be playing for his next season. So I'm not going to have any part in it. But what I will say is Amrabat deserved to start over Casemiro. And Casemiro was weird at the end of last season for about 6 weeks. Like, weird. His penalty against Coventry was like he wanted to miss. And some of the, you know, his laziness in defending was just incredible. So something went on. Something went on. Do I think Casemiro refused to play in a cup final? I don't think you'll ever prove it, to be honest. But, yeah. I'd forgotten about that. Harvey Specter says, can we get a Gary Barlow for Joe's comment? Absolutely incredible, Joe. Absolutely fantastic. Oh my God. Could it be magic, Joe? Absolutely fantastic. I still don't think that's as good as my Sir Jim Radcliffe. If you listen to Sir Jim Radcliffe, I'm not actually far wrong, you know. He's got a bit of a deep throat in relation to how he talks, but he's also got a bit of northern and posh in him as well. And, you know, we look at Arsenal and what they've done with Arteta, and, you know, it's very brave. But me and Sir David, or as I call him Dave, we've got our ideas. And honestly, you know, 28% is a foot in the door. I'm the same as everybody else. I'm a massive Manchester United fan, and if I could kick the Glazers into the sea, I would. But we're going to have to take our time on that and basically take them on a yacht and make them think that we want them there. And then halfway around, you know, the sea's a bit troppy. Where have the Glazers gone? It was an accident, you know. Casemiro's penalty wasn't as bad as Southgate's, says Angel Bomb. Thank you very much for that. Let's talk about De Ligt. Right, Pletigol gave an update this afternoon that I think everybody missed. And what's this from Olivia? Calls out the ones he doesn't like, refuses to call out the others. Olivia, if you're going to grow a pair, which probably isn't possible with a name called Olivia, but in this world you might have, we would love to know who I'm calling out, who I don't like, and who I'm refusing to call out the others. Olivia, the show, you know, Joe's already winning, but we're really interested in what shit you're talking about, because I've got no idea what you're talking about. I ain't scared to talk about anything. I ain't scared to call out any player. What your problem is that I'm saying sell a player that you like. You can't deal with it, so you come out with nonsense about agendas and hate, because that's what the modern person does when somebody's got a different opinion to them and they don't like it. They hide behind hate and agenda and accusations of unfairness. If you run a race, Olivia, and you come second, you'll moan that the first person had an unfair advantage because their parents took them to running lessons. Jog on. Get in the real world, work harder, and if you lose an argument, think about why you lost it. Right, let's get into the show. Casemiro's peasant, we've done that one. The latest on De Ligt is this. Pletigol, German journalist for Sky Germany, is saying that Jonathan Tah is still a target for Bayern Munich, but the offer they've made to Leverkusen is not good enough, so they need to increase it. De Ligt is still a player they want to sell, but they want the price that Man United won't pay. De Ligt still wants to come to United. Man United still want De Ligt. Where are we? Where are we? We're living in frustration. we are living in frustration. And I heard somebody today on social media say we should walk away from De Ligt. It's turning into De Jong again. To which I would say, look, maybe we should walk away from De Ligt. Well, everyone says walk away from Branthwaite. Branthwaite wants to sign for Man United, so what's the difference? Still, Everton and Bayern Munich won't do a realistic deal, so maybe we should walk away. But it's not the same as De Jong, because De Jong never wanted to come to Man United. And the shame about walking away from someone like De Ligt would be that he actually does want to come to United, and he ticks a lot of boxes. So I don't think we should be walking away from a De Ligt deal, but I do and am frustrated by it, because it's a bit of a sick feeling, you know. It's a bit of a sick feeling to just think about the starting lineup against Fulham, and just let this drop into your head, right? Starting lineup against Fulham: Onana, Dalot, Maguire, Martinez, Shaw, Casemiro, Mainu, Bruno, Rashford, Garnacho, Rasmus. It's not even our best team from last season. That's the nicest thing I'll say about it, because I could say a lot worse. That's not even our best team from last year. And that's our first game of the season. And we're meant to get excited. Oh, what a great summer we've had. Oh, we're going to finish in the top 4. That team's not even as good as our best team last season. Varane's better than Maguire. He's gone. And personally, I'd put Garnacho on the left and Ahmad on the right. So, you know, it's not even our best team from last season. But that's probably our team that we're going to put out against Fulham. So in this new brave world, why are we putting a team out like that? And the answer will be, we can't get the players we want. We can't get the players out we want. We're hoping to do business at the end of the window. But by that time, we might have lost to Fulham, Brighton and Liverpool. Like, pre-season's a joke now. In a footballing sense, pre-season's a joke. We haven't got a back four that will be anywhere near our back four for the start of the season. So, you know, that's the frustration, I suppose. And we've got to hang in there for Agate and De Ligt, but time is not our friend, and we do need a little bit more urgency, I suppose. James Downey says McTominay is like John O'Shea, passionate squad member. Rabiot wants dollars, rejected us before, could be the next Varane. Be careful what you wish for. James, I don't want to throw you into the Olivia category, but if you ever compare Scott McTominay to John O'Shea again, I will ban you for life. And I will ask Twitter to do the same. That is an absolute disgrace of a comment. It's probably one of the worst comments of 2024. McTominay compared to John O'Shea is complete bullshit. I've not seen McTominay running through one-on-one against Arsenal and chipping their keeper. I've not seen McTominay scoring late winners at Anfield. John O'Shea's a fucking legend, mate. He is the quintessential utility player who could play holding midfield, right back, left back and centre back. They don't make him like John O'Shea anymore. I mean, you talk about underrated. That guy was bloody legendary. He could chip it over Arsenal to win a game. He could score a late winner. He could play centre. I think he could play in goal as well. The guy was bloody brilliant. Scott McTominay is an attacking midfielder. He can't play centre-back. He can't play holding midfield. He can't play right-back and he can't play left-back. So, look, McTominay has his uses, but to compare him to John O'Shea is dangerous. It's very, very dangerous, and it's not fair on either player. Yeah, Greg's right. If you want to compare anyone, Wes Brown and Johnny Evans and John O'Shea are cut from the same cloth for me. Perfect squad players. Perfect. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, okay. The US tour. Now, I did want to just touch on this because I think it's important. Unfortunately, it's Tuesday night. And Tuesday is nearly halfway through the week. And I've got to be honest with you, the start to this week ain't great. It ain't great. It's slow. It's quiet. And unfortunately, it's heading the same way as previous US tours, but previous tours in itself. It's unfortunate that we've got a scenario whereby we just don't seem to do much business when we go on tour. I was worried when I saw Dan Ashworth, Brailsford and Barada going on the tour because they are the key men and they're out there in America. You'll always get told you can do business because you've got Zoom and you've got emails. But I just think that, unfortunately, at the moment, look, there's still time. There is still time. But it seems, again, like the tour is the death of transfers for Manchester United. I'm sure it'll pick up when we get back, but everything seems to have slowed down. There is always a reason for that. Multitude of reasons. It's not just Man United on tour. Every other club's on tour as well. But they are historically something that we as a community have seen year after year for the last 10. The minute United go on tour, it's very rare we do business. I think Lukaku happened on tour a few years ago. There are examples of it, but, you know, it's not unusual for it to go like this. Alonso says, any news on Yoro or Rasmus? Well, the only news on Rasmus is I'm wearing a T-shirt with Rasmus on it. But I think with Rasmus, there is a press conference taking place, more or less, as I speak. But it's not Ten Hag. I think it's Ahmad. So there's no... I don't think there'll be any injury update from Ahmad. So I think with Yoro... it's really difficult to get information out of United at the moment, which is good. Hopefully they're stopping the leaks. But nothing's coming out about Yoro. Nothing at all, which is great. Because I think if it was serious, you'd expect it to be out there. So maybe no news is good news with an injury. Considering he did it on early hours of Sunday morning, and it's nearly 3 days later, I live in hope that the fact that nothing's come out means that it might not be as bad as we thought, because people are desperate for that sort of news. Oh, he's out for 3 months, you know, that sort of thing. And we've not had it. So I'm quite optimistic on both injuries. I mean, look, I don't expect Yoro to play tomorrow. I don't expect him to be fit for Fulham. But there might be a scenario where he's back, you know, by the end of the month, which would, well, not this month because it's the 30th of July today, but there might be a scenario where he's back in 2 or 3 weeks, which would be better than maybe we thought at the weekend. I think with Rasmus, he will play against Man City. I wouldn't play him tomorrow, and I wouldn't play him against Liverpool either. I think that it would be a waste of time to do that if he's got a potential injury. But I wouldn't expect either of them to play on the tour now. And why would you play them? I mean, even if Yoro miraculously isn't too bad, he's still hobbled off on Saturday. And even if Rasmus is absolutely fine now, he still felt something on Saturday. So, yeah. Linda Searle says, are we playing tomorrow? Well, I say tomorrow, Linda. It's early hours of Thursday morning. So this time tomorrow night, we'll be doing an 8 o'clock show, and I'll be saying see you in a few hours for a 3 a.m. kickoff. If Casemiro were on McTominay's wages, I would keep Casemiro since McTominay has a useful transfer value and is sellable. Good point, Dariel. My brother loves De Ligt. I hope we get him in soon, says Shubham. I think we all want De Ligt, don't we? Smash a like on the video if you want De Ligt. We're about 400 away from 2,000 likes, so I would imagine we'll smash through that very quickly. I think every time we've done a poll, everyone wants De Ligt. I want De Ligt. You know, I didn't want De Ligt a month ago, but this move by Ineos, you know, they convinced me about it. So I do want that. Jackie Boy says, John O'Shea is an Aston Martin and McTominay is a tractor. No. I don't want to, that wasn't my point. McTominay had a good season last season for him. But I was actually throwing respect on John O'Shea. There is no comparison there. He has his uses depending on the situation, but he's limited. McTominay's like a good mix of class 92, says Rabiot's mum. Thank you very much. And Robert says, Maguire did score versus Fulham last minute, 89th minute, says Robert McCormack. Yeah, but Robert, that's not the point I'm making, is it? My point is, if that team I said is the team against Fulham, it's not even the best team we had last year. So where's the progression? I don't think anybody believes that Harry Maguire should be starting games for Man United in 2024. I don't think even you believe that, Robert. And nobody's saying he's a bad player, but I'm just saying he shouldn't be starting games for Manchester United now. Just on the tour, by the way, remember it was Ten Hag. I mean, I don't know how this happens now. Maybe somebody can tell me how this happens, but it was It was Ten Hag who highlighted the Betis game before the Arsenal game and said, that's the big game. I want to play a team for 60 minutes. That's the game I'm looking at as a real preparation for the new season. I don't know how he's going to make that work, really. I think it's very, very difficult to pick a team against Betis that will give you any momentum into a new season. I mean, the best team he could put out tomorrow would be Onana. I mean, I wouldn't play Wan-Bissaka tomorrow. I mean, that's a great point. I wouldn't play Wan-Bissaka tomorrow. Imagine you play him and he gets injured. That's the end of the Mazraoui deal. So maybe Wan-Bissaka will play, but I wouldn't play him. Why play him? There's no point. So I don't know who plays at right back. Maguire and Lindelof, and then Amas. Casemiro, Collier, Mount, Rashford, Ahmad, Wheatley. That's no team that's going to tell you anything about Fulham or the Community Shield, is it? It's just not. It will tell you things about individuals, but it won't tell you anything about a collective. You know, we're not going to play a high line. We're not going to pass out from the back very well. So I think this tour with 2 injuries has sort of ruined a lot of what Ten Hag had planned. Yoro would have been key. Rasmus would have been key. And I think Liverpool on Sunday morning could be very embarrassing. I'm only going to say that now. Liverpool on Sunday could be really embarrassing because Liverpool have got a better squad than us in relation to players that can play the system Slot wants to play. And the way Liverpool played against Betis last week was very impressive in relation to the system that they played. And they'll be able to do that against us. So Liverpool, these next 2 games, I think are going to be... I'm just going to say, if we get beat in both of them, there will be a real bad reaction. But I just want to say, before we play both, we are missing probably 10 first-team players. So I don't really know what we get out of it. Even if we win, I don't know what we get out of it. There's so much missing. Do you think Ineos give a slight hint at designated transfer window when they said it doesn't matter what place Erik Ten Hag finishes this year, says Fernando? You're not the first person to say that, mate, and it is very depressing. A lot of people have said, you know, there was this article a couple of weeks ago where Ten Hag doesn't have to get top 4 in year 1. And I dismissed it because I think he does have to get top 4. But if it's a really shit transfer window, you have got to be realistic and say, how can we get top 4? So, you know, you might be onto something there. Mario Franco says, what's Ricky's lists of outgoings? We need to get Ricky on, actually. I mean, I don't know. Let me just find out. We need to get Ricky on, but I don't know where he is. Ricky goes on more holidays than Alan Wicker. That's a bit old school for. Do they do holiday shows now? Ricky's on more flights than Jet2. Ricky travels more than Ryanair. There you go. That's something for the Ute. He's always on holiday, but we'll get his thoughts on it definitely. Let's say Maguire, Scott, Casemiro stays and they run down their contract, and then next summer we would be more fucked with FFP. No, we wouldn't. We wouldn't, because their wages would be gone. Ian says, I really want De Ligt, but want United to have a strong back 4 in midfield to compete this season. And Fernando Perez says, do you think Ineos... I've done that one, haven't we? Thank you very much. Leo's watching his first ever United game this Wednesday. I'm so hyped. I love the channel. Enjoy it. Betis are not a bad team. It should be a good game. And hopefully we won't be subbing everyone off at half time either, which pisses me off in pre-season. Mark, mate, if it was serious for Yoro, would he have flown back? Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. Yeah, I don't know. That's very interesting, actually. Look, as I said, I can't give you an update on Yoro because I don't know what it is. But and Ten Hag isn't doing the press conference tonight, so I don't think we'll get an update. But I think that where we are is we're in the position where we can have a good old look at positivity around the fact that we've not heard anything yet. So hopefully something happens with that. And look, you know, even tomorrow, there are individual performances that are still going to be exciting to watch. I mean, Jadon Sancho's gone very quiet, hasn't it? Look, I think to try and bring some semblance of positivity, I imagine the minute we fly back from the States, there will be a very big push to get players out and get players in. But it's a shame. It will be a real shame if at the start of next week we haven't got De Ligt, Agate and Mazraoui, because we're going to go into the Community Shield with a team that's just not that great. Keshev says fans should be concerned about Lenny Yoro injury. That was from Sky Sports. I mean, I don't believe you, Keshev, but you know, if we should be very concerned about it, I'd be very surprised why it hasn't leaked out. But you know, you might be right. Oh no, you're right. Melissa Reddy says Man United fans would be right to be concerned about Lenny Yoro's injury sustained in their pre-season friendly to Arsenal. But she might be saying that in the sense that, you know, you'd be right to be concerned about it. Like, you know, I don't know. You know, my granddad always said to me, no news is good news. We live in hope. We live in hope. And you know what? To be honest with you, we had Melissa on yesterday. She had some really good stuff, but if she knew about it, they'd put it out. Yeah, they'd put it out. And as I said, if he'd had a cruciate, if it was cruciate ligament, he'd already have had the operation. Like, you know, we've watched football long enough, haven't we? And we know that when somebody does their cruciate ligament, they're pretty much operated on the same day. So, yeah, I don't think that look, I don't know is the honest answer. If somebody comes out and says he's out for 4 months, I wouldn't be surprised. If somebody come out and said he's out for 4 weeks, I wouldn't be surprised. We'll just have to wait and see. If we lose to anyone, the Ten Hag outers and the press will have a field day, and crap rumours of Southgate coming in around Christmas will be everywhere, says Jackie Boy. Thank you very much. Is 50 million for De Ligt really unreasonable? 50 million euros isn't, Shahin, no. It really isn't. Thank you, everybody, for tonight. Absolute legends. It's hot in the UK, you know. Oh, if you want to get one of these, by the way, somebody was on about it. I'm wearing a lot of the T-shirts that we do at the moment. It should be pinned anyway underneath the video, but just go United Stand Shopify on Google and you'll find all our prints, which you can get hold of. Don't forget, Manscaped is available with a 20% discount as well. Links in the description, or scan the QR code. And you know what I'm really disappointed about? I'm really disappointed that in previous years, we used to do a lot of streams at about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Dead this summer, isn't it? Absolutely fucking dead. We used to do about 30 across the summer. I think we've done 1 or 2. So I don't expect to see you on later on. I'll probably see you at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, won't I? But thank you, everybody, for watching. And we will be back tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock unless we've got something before then. And don't forget, tomorrow is effectively a match day as well. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you in a bit.